aren't going by the law. Jurors aren't going by you're innocent to proven guilty. So that's why they're so confident. That's why their conviction rate is so high. And that's why, honestly, people take pleas. That's another stigma. Automatically, assumptions are made. If you take a plea, you're guilty. That's the biggest crock of you know what. Because you know what happens? Realistically, people weigh things. And when you go in that courtroom, you know the risk. Even if you're 100% innocent, you know the risk of having a juror who's not going to go by reasonable doubt and is going to stereotype you and is going to prejudice you and is going to use their personal bias against you. So what's put in front of you? They tell you, okay, you could either face life or 5 years, 10 years. Now, average citizen who's never dealt with these things, they look at it like, well, if you're guilty, why would you admit it? Why would you admit it? If you're concerned you're going to have a jury who's going to judge you and is going to use all this, the predetermined press releases that were put out, all articles that were put out against you that hurt you, if you're nervous a jury is going to use that and not go by the facts, which happens time and again, and not go by reasonable doubt, you're going to get convicted, even when you are innocent. So now, when a deal's put in front of you where you could either risk the rest of your life in jail or you could have it behind you and eventually have a life again, some people take it, and rightfully so. And it makes me laugh when you get people who act like, well, they pled, so they're guilty. No, that's not the case. That's not the reality. You live in a fantasy world. They pled because it was the less of the two evils, because they knew the justice system's flawed, and they knew they would have a really hard shot getting a fair trial. In an ideal world, you watch a lot of those pleas get thrown out of the window and everybody would go to trial. A lot of these innocent people wind up taking pleas. They'll go to trial in an ideal world where everybody goes by reasonable doubt and everybody goes by the facts and the government has to prove you're guilty and you're innocent until proven guilty. In that, perfect world, those statistics would change. That whole statistical output of the amount of people who take pleas would change. But that's not reality. And that's what's so frustrating. They try to paint it like it is reality. And, they pled, so they're guilty. No. Learn the facts before you make that statement. Learn what they were up against before you make that statement. Put yourself in their shoes before you make that statement. Right away, they want to jump to those conclusions. And then you get the individual who wants to try to fight it and still has a little hope left in the justice system. And you go and you figure, okay, I know I'm innocent. It's going to come out. And the jury still gets it wrong. Then what? Now you're faced to deal with that. Now you're faced to deal with being locked up when you know you're innocent. Your family knows you're innocent. You're suffering financially, emotionally, physically. Now you're fighting to get out. You're fighting. Years are coming off your life because of how slow the process is to fight to get out. And you're innocent and you're stuck in jail. All because a jury of 12 refused to do what they were instructed to do. Refused to use reasonable doubt. The arrogance on some of these jurors, when I think about it. How arrogant you must be that you go into there after seeing all these flaws in the government's case, all these holes, all of these informants stepping over each other with different stories, all of this evidence which really doesn't amount to much, car evidence which is 4 years worth of different model cars, cell towers which is a junk science, no direct witnesses to the murder, no murder weapon, no bullet to even do a forensic on the bullet, no residue. Another thing that I couldn't wrap my head around, if you're the jury, the first question I would ask all the other jurors, why didn't the government get that car and tear it apart for residue? That was the supposed getaway driver's car, and he allegedly had the murderer with him in the car. The government didn't seize that car, tear apart the car panels, shine a black light throughout that whole car to look for blood splatter, to look for blood transfer. Supposedly, the victim was shot at close range, so there had to be some kind of blood transfer to the alleged trigger man's hand or his clothes somewhere, and it had to then transfer somewhere inside of the getaway car. The government never even got the car. They never even seized the car. The car was turned into the dealership a little while later and they never went and grabbed it, or you don't grab it within a few days when you have the person identified. They apparently had the getaway driver, which is another story because an informant fed them that information. So there was definitely something behind that. But you don't go grab that car? You don't pull that car apart?